World War II began on the 1st of September 1939 when Hitler, the Führer of Nazi Germany, ordered the invasion of Poland. Germany had mastered the Blitzkrieg tactics, or lightning war. This enabled them to smash through Poland with ease. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union had a secret agreement to divide Eastern Europe between themselves, and so the Soviet Union, or the USSR, began the invasion of Eastern Europe. Because of an agreement between Britain, France, and Poland, the British and French declared war on Germany, but didn't do much. This period was known as the Phoney War. But when 1940 rolled around, Germany turned its attention to Western Europe. They used the Blitzkrieg tactics to invade Luxembourg, Norway, Denmark, Belgium, France, the Netherlands, and the Channel Islands. The British managed to evacuate 388,000 troops, a third of them French, from France to Britain. Although Britain at this point is often classed as being alone in the fight against Nazi Germany, they really had the rest of their empire fighting with them. Germany then launched the Battle of Britain in the skies above Britain in order to launch the invasion of the UK. This was followed by the Blitz. But the British RAF, or Royal Air Force, overcame the German Luftwaffe, or German Air Force. On the 13th of September, the leader of fascist Italy, Mussolini, invaded British-controlled Egypt from their colony of Libya. The 300,000 Italians sent to attack the 30,000 British were crushed so badly that Germany had to send the Afrika Korps to aid them. Part of the agreement between the Soviets and the Germans was that neither side would invade the other. Both countries very much intended to break this deal, but Hitler beat the Premier of the USSR, Joseph Stalin, to it. On the 22nd of June 1941, the Germans crossed the border with 3 million troops into the Soviet Union. This was a huge mistake. The Japanese made an even bigger mistake a few months later. Germany, Italy, and Japan were all allied against the Western powers, also known as the Allies. They called themselves the Axis because they believed the world revolved around them. Japan, seeing the success of Germany in Europe, decided to destroy the US naval power so they could dominate the Pacific. On December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. The US lost 2,403 people, with 19 ships being destroyed or damaged. But the Japanese hadn't been able to attack the US aircraft carriers, and this proved to be a fatal mistake. The US declared war on the 8th of December. Germany declared war on the US 4 days after the attack. On January the 20th, 1942, the Nazi leadership met and decided on the final solution, a plan to exterminate all of Europe's Jews. They planned on killing 11 million and succeeded in killing 6 million. They also included others, including the blind, lame, and Romas. There were several critical battles in 1942 to 1943, such as Midway in the Pacific in June 1942, El Alamein in Egypt in November of 1942, and Stalingrad in the Soviet Union during January of 1943. In the November of 1942, US and British troops had landed in North Africa, but they managed to push the Axis out of Africa and into Italy. The Allies launched an invasion of Italy in September of 1943. On the 22nd of June 1944, exactly 3 years after the launch of Operation Barbarossa, the code name for the invasion of the USSR, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration, which was the massive counterattack which eventually led to the Battle of Berlin. 16 days before, the Allies had launched Operation Overlord, or the invasion of German-occupied Normandy in northern France, also known as D-Day. As the Western powers pushed through France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, the USSR was advancing through the east. The Soviets' advance was so brutal, and they treated the Germans so terribly, that it wasn't uncommon for the Germans to flee to the west and surrender to the Americans instead of facing the Soviets. In the Pacific, the US had been island hopping in an attempt to get closer to Japan. From October to December of 1944, the Americans and Japanese fought the Battle of Leyte. The Japanese Navy and Air Force had already been weakened by this point, and the battle completely crushed them. Back in Europe, the Germans launched their last offensive in the West. The Battle of the Bulge started on the 16th of December 1944 and ended on the 25th of January 1945. The German push into Belgium surprised the Americans, who at first retreated, but they reorganized and pushed the Germans back. This destroyed any German hope of victory in the West, after losing 100,000 men to the Allies' 75,000. The Allies could replace these losses, while the Germans couldn't. After a long push, the Soviets finally reached Berlin in April of 1945. Hitler committed suicide on the 30th of April, Berlin fell on May the 2nd, and Germany surrendered May the 8th. The war in Europe was over. For years, the US had been working on a secret weapon, the atomic bomb. On August the 6th, 1945, they dropped the first bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The two bombs resulted in around 200,000 lives lost. Japan surrendered to America on the 2nd of September 1945. World War II was over. After the war, Nazi leaders were tried for war crimes, with most being executed or receiving life in prison. But soon, a new conflict would arrive. It would not be fought directly, but indirectly, in proxy wars all over the globe. This was the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States of America, the only superpowers left in the world. This battle between democracy and communism would not end till 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and press the notification button to see more videos. Thank you.